Well, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. And as it is Thursday, you know that what that means. We are going back to our HIPAA series, but real brief disclaimer. For everything, all the information we go over throughout the duration of this particular HIPAA series, you're going to find the links to it right there in the description box for you. So, should you like to go ahead and deep dive on the subject, you're certainly going to be able to do so. Also, folks, trigger warning this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity, and when we cover places like the JRC, as you'll see there on the channel, we do cover some pretty dark and triggering subjects. So if you got a child that is 16 and younger and they watch this channel, parental supervision is very much advised. Political trigger warning. If you are left, or you are right, or you are in any party, I am not. I happen to agree with the great Groucho Marx. I don't want to belong to a club that wants me as a member, especially if it's out in public, because more than likely it's the mask they want. And that's just exhausting. I'm not going to willingly do that and not get paid for it. Are you kidding me? But, anyways, I always vote in regards to candidate stances in regards to disability policy. So, I may say something that offends you. If you're unable to handle that like an adult and result to automatic and idiotic uninspired name calling, I am going to remove your comment and block you from the channel. Nobody has time for that. Alright? Only warning. And boy, do I got a lot of reasons to not trust any political party right now. I don't know if you've seen the recent news about RFK, but that dude is going to end up getting me to do so many series that I might have to completely even forget the idea of sleep. I will go ahead and do a video on it at some point. I do want to get to HIPAA, but I want you guys to go ahead and head to the news because RFK Jr. came up with the asinine idea that the way to treat schizophrenia is not with proven evidence-based medication, but through, and I shit you not, a ketogenic diet. One of my uncles is schizophrenic. I've told you guys this. Right before he finally condescended to go to a doctor for it, there was a particular incident where he was having an episode. And he was so afraid, literally so afraid, that inanimate objects in his home were chasing him, that he was threatening to dive out the window. I was actually staying with my grannies at that night when she got that phone call, and she had to head out. I had to go home. By the time she had gotten there, while she was there, he lived in an apartment, people. He jumped out the window. He ended up being fine, thank God, but without his meds, he cannot function. That is not me being ableist. That is me operating off of observed facts. First of all, he's a little bit of a health nut these days. So all you just eat non-gluten, nothing but healthy from Amish and going over, first of all, no, that doesn't cure shit. It helps you prevent future health problems. It might help you strengthen up your immune and all those wonderful things, which is why I shop there. But I still continue to make my medication because I have been on that particular diet now for 8 damn years. It does not approve shit when it comes to me being autistic. Nor have I seen it do shit for my uncle if he's not also taking his meds. Certain diagnoses are prescribed certain medications for a goddamn reason. By the time we go in for mental health medication, it is generally because we have already tried everything goddamn else that can be done over the counter. I tried about 20 as different anti-anxiety teas and concoctions. Like, if we want to talk about actual household costs, those teas I would get would be about around $30 a pop. Tinctures, supplements, teas, just about everything you can think of. My uncle eats like that now. If we did not have our medication, we would not be able to function. That is point blank. My anxiety had gotten so out of control that all those things that RFK is telling you to do, the beginning self-soothing, that sort of thing, it didn't work anymore. It didn't work anymore. That's why I went in and got on medication. So that is the reason why I am doing this series on HIPAA and on advanced directives, because our public health is being held hostage by an absolute druggy, absolute conspiracy believing madman. And there doesn't seem to be a whole hell of a lot we are able to do about it. I don't even want to think about the decades of untold damage he has already caused because of his insane conspiracy theories and his complete, absolutely, the way he ignores and dismisses evidence based medicine in favor for his own fantasies. This is where everything has led with the my truth bullshit. There is no my truth. There is the truth and there is lies. This is where we've come to now. The truth is not multiple choice. You don't get to pick your own reality. Anyways. Sorry about the rant, but I just literally just saw that and my mind just. So, we're going to get back to where we left off on the HIPAA series, which is right here at the authorized uses and disclosures. All right, folks, here we go. Authorization. A covered entity must obtain the individual's written authorization for any use or disclosure of protected health information that is not for treatment, payment, or healthcare operations, or otherwise permitted or required by the privacy rule. You see, folks, this is why you have to have certain documentation to fill out for your job, and your job has to send information into your doctor so that they can release the records that prove your disability. Another person that I have given full access to my medical records, regardless of what the situation is my mom, because I have had her in that circle of support since the beginning. She's still in there, among some of my other relatives. But yeah, you gotta have that written thing. That's why you also have to fill out that form again so that your primary care physician, your psychiatrist, and psychologist can all be talking to one another. So it's protecting your information, but giving allowances for the individuals who will need access to that information will be able to do so. A covered entity may not condition treatment, payment, enrollment, or benefits eligibility on an individual granting an authorization except in limited circumstances. An authorization must be written in specific terms. It may allow use and disclosure of protected health information by the covered entity seeking the authorization or by a third party. Pardon me? Examples of disclosures that would require an individual's authorization include disclosures of a life insurer for coverage purposes, disclosures to an employer of the results of a pre-employment physical or lab test. For example, when I worked for T-Tech, because I was going into USAA, I had to do the pee in the cup test, and I had to sign a waiver form so that they would be able to access the results to that particular drug test they had all us employees do. All authorizations must be in plain language and contain specific information regarding the information to be disclosed or used, the persons disclosing and receiving the information, expiration, right to revoke in writing, and other data. Remember when I told you when you're doing this particular paperwork to get this set up, pay attention to details? Pay attention to details. Do not make me get out the megaphone. I can get real annoying real quick. I'll find you. The privacy rule contains transition provisions applicable to authorizations and express legal permissions obtained prior to April the 14th, 2003. All right, psychotherapy notes. So if you've got a mental health team, which I do, I have a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a neurologist. You may have to sign a form because if they're working on your treatment plan together, then they're going to need to be able to have the ability to talk with one another in regards to your treatment. So, if you got psychotherapy notes that would be relevant for the psychologist to know, or if there's something they may be noticing that they think that the neurologist needs to be taking a look at, that's what they're talking about there. A covered entity must obtain an individual's authorization to use or disclose psychotherapy notes with the following exceptions. The covered entity who originates the notes may use them for treatment. A covered entity may use or disclose without an individual's authorization the psychotherapy notes for its own training and to defend itself in legal proceedings brought by the individual. For HHS to investigate or determine the covered entity's compliance with the privacy rules, to avert a serious and imminent threat to public health or safety, to Health Oversight Agency for lawful oversight of the originator of the psychotherapy notes, for the lawful activities of coroner or medical examiner as required by law. All right, for marketing. Marketing is a communication about a product or service that encourages recipients to purchase or use the product or service. The privacy rule carves out the following health-related activities from this definition of marketing. Communications to describe health-related products or services that encourages recipients to purchase or use the product or service. The privacy rule carves out the following health-related activities from this definition of marketing. Communications to describe health-related products or services or payment for them provided by or included in a benefit plan of the covered entity making the communication. Communications about participating providers in a provider or health plan network, replacement or of enhancements to a health plan, and health-related products or services available only to a health plan's enrollees that add value to but are not a part of the benefits plan. Communications for treatment of the individual, and communications for case management or care coordination for the individual. Like my CI, our direct care staff or nursing staff, for example. Or to direct or recommend alternative treatments, therapies, healthcare providers, or care settings to the individual. Now, I had to have quite a few because I also get for emergency purposes that both of the directors at my assisted living facility had access in case they ever needed it in an emergency situation. Any of my CIs all had that information should they ever need it. I tend to be paranoid, so I'd rather be over prepared than not prepared. I don't know what to tell you on that one. Marketing is also an arrangement between a covered entity and any other entity whereby the covered entity discloses protected health information in exchange for direct or indirect remuneration for the other entity to communicate about its own products or services, encouraging the use or purchase of those products or services. A covered entity must obtain authorization to use or disclose protected health information for marketing, except for face to face marketing communications between a covered entity and individual, and a covered entity's provision of promotional gifts of nominal value. Nor authorization is needed, however, to make a communication that falls within one of the exceptions to the marketing definition. An authorization for marketing that involves the covered entity's receipt of direct or indirect remuneration from a third party must reveal that fact. See additional guidance on marketing. So, this covers a few exceptions, reasons for why there might need to have the disclosure forms filled out. There's also the case you have to have them filled out if you want your health provider to share information regards to your diagnosis as is relevant regards to it hampering you in how you best to do your job. So it's always good to have a few on hand, and if you got a quarter file, get you one. If you don't have one, put your extras in the back of it in case you might need it for a new job or in case you might need to have it, well, for just about any reason. Pretty self explanatory, right? All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close out for this one, and we will be back coming next Thursday with the limited uses and disclosures to the minimum necessary. But before we do, we don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the comments. Double check to make sure that you are set up for notifications. Tomorrow being Friday, we're going to continue with Down the Rabbit Hole. And obviously, it is far more needed than I could have ever contemplated in my life. Definitely one to watch there. We're going to be doing Medicaid series on Saturday, and on Sunday, of course, we're going to continue with the advanced directives. We don't want you to miss anything, and I am going to be covering this news in regards to how RFK Jr. thinks diet can heal us all. Dude, if that were the case, I would have been healed by like freshman year of high school. Just putting it out there. Okay? All right. I do appreciate your time, folks. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do. Hope you have a good one. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye, everyone.